Did you know that with your VA home loan benefit, that the down payment requirement is zero? Did you also know that VA loans have a zero minimum credit score, meaning there's no requirement to get a VA loan? And then on top of that, did you also know that with the VA loan, you can own multiple homes using that VA loan? Here's a quick breakdown. My name is Aaron Page. I am a top mortgage specialist for VA loans in the United States. What does this mean to you? Nothing. What does it mean to everybody in general? That I know VA loans inside and out. I wouldn't be successful doing VA loans if I didn't know how they worked. There's only two things I specialize in: VA loans and bank statement loans for self employed borrowers. But here's why this matters and why I tell you that. I've watched and worked with over my 15-year career multiple veterans and active military members who have used these loans to build some serious wealth. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars while still active in the military by using their VA benefits to buy homes. The key to all of it is understanding how the benefits actually work. Let's start with the biggest benefit, and that's the zero money down. You're not required to put anything down. People put an earnest money down, but most of the time, the earnest money deposit that they put as good faith in the contract to the seller gets refunded to them at closing. So, without going into explaining it because I don't really need to, you can buy a home without saving tens of thousands of dollars, which is a massive advantage over people using an FHA loan or a conventional loan. You don't need that 3.5% to 20% down in order to acquire real estate. This changes the timeline for home buying immediately. If you're a veteran or an active military member and you see a home that you like and you want to see if you're pre approved, you can do that. And if you are, you can buy it like with no money down at all. Like you go this weekend and find one. The next point, it's insanely crucial to understand one piece. There is no credit score requirement for a VA loan. If you are told otherwise, it's because that lender has an overlay for credit requirements. So a lot of banks and credit unions get mad at me when I say there's no credit score requirement on a VA loan because they have a 580 minimum or a 620. But if you look at the VA handbook, there is no credit score requirement at all. You could have a 500, you could have an 800. There is no minimum for a VA loan. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And if they do, they're simply not educated enough or their company is restricting them directly. So if you have bad credit, no credit, some credit, great credit, you qualify on a VA loan, technically, based on the guidelines, if you meet the other aspects of it, like debt to income and things like that. The next benefit, there's no PMI, private mortgage insurance. On a VA loan, no money down, no mortgage insurance. You have principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Just like a standard payment, homeowner's insurance, not mortgage insurance. And VA loans never require that. Not at any point of any loan will mortgage insurance ever be on a VA loan. You can own multiple homes with your VA eligibility and entitlement. And you can do it with VA financing simultaneously, but there are restrictions and limitations to it. But most people don't know this. If they have a VA loan and let's say they get orders to be stationed somewhere else, they're like, well, I have to refinance this onto a conventional loan if I want to use my VA benefit again. And that's not always the case. There's a calculation that goes into your entitlement and your eligibility. So a good example of this is, let's say you buy a starter home or you already own a starter home that you bought, let's say 10 years ago, and you bought it for $180,000. You will have some entitlement and eligibility left to then probably go find another $250,000 to $300,000 house if you can find it in this market, because there's a calculation that goes into your eligibility and your entitlement all into one. And unless you're leveraging all of your entitlement and all of your eligibility for your VA loan, then you're stuck to that one property. But if you're not maxing it out, there is an opportunity to use it again and technically have two VA loans at a time with no money down on either one. A very important piece to note here, though, is if you own a home right now on a VA loan and that's you parting it to buy a new one, if new orders, new station, wherever, that home can become a rental, but you cannot buy a home as a rental using your VA loan. Like your intent cannot be to buy the home and immediately rent it out. This is a quality of life or a life change that you have no control over. So you're eligible, but you cannot buy it to just be a straight up rental. VA loans no longer have loan limits if you have your full entitlement. You can purchase $1 million home. I just closed on a $2.5 million home with full financing a few weeks ago. You just have to qualify and have enough income to support that payment. The VA will back the loan regardless of the price or the loan amount. Now, the one thing to VA loans that could be considered a downside is that there's a funding fee and it's required by the VA, not the lender. And as how it works is like this. Typically, for a VA loan, the funding fee can range anywhere from 2.3% to 3.6%, depending on if it's the first time using your VA benefits or if it's a subsequent use. Now, veterans who have a service connected disability are exempt from the funding fee, and it will never apply to your loan as long as you are considered to have a service connected disability. Anybody else who's not exempt, the fee gets rolled into your loan amount. So you actually can finance 100% of the property, and then the funding fee goes on top of that. If you buy a home for $300,000 and there's a 3% fee, that's a $9,000 fee put onto your loan amount. So you buy the home for $300,000, but your total balance is $309,000 to accommodate the fee that the VA charges. Let's clear up a few myths about VA loans that are out in the market and just simply don't apply. The first one is that VA loans take forever to close. Simply not the case. Your lender might take forever to close, but the VA loan itself is however quick your lender can get it done. VA loans close just as fast, if not faster, than conventional and FHA loans. This is typically right around 30 days. When it goes longer, it's because you have an inexperienced lender or broker working on your file. The next one is that sellers don't accept VA offers. And this is completely an outdated belief on what the market will accept. Sellers want the best offer. The only time that they would be in any way educated to not accept a VA offer is an old stigma that a lot of old realtors have that VA appraisals are hard to pass, and they're just simply not. The VA will not allow a buyer or the veteran or active member to buy a property that's in dire need of repair. Like you can't have exposed wiring and foundation problems, and you can't have things like that, but nobody should be buying a home like that. So it's a common misconception that sellers don't accept VA offers. And the only reason that happens is because of bad education from their realtor, because they have someone who's been doing it for 40 years and it used to be different. The last one we already kind of talked, it's VA loans only work for primary residences, but there's a loophole to it, like I mentioned. You buy as a primary residence, you live there for 12 months, you get stationed somewhere else or orders somewhere else. You then are eligible per VA guidelines to rent that home out and buy a new home using any remaining eligibility or entitlement that you have. So here's the wealth building strategy for utilizing a VA loan to its fullest potential. You purchase a home with no money down. You live there while building equity and making your payment. Balance is going down, equity is going up. If you do relocate, don't sell the home, convert it to a rental unless you have to have it to buy a new home. If you don't have the eligibility, then you can refinance it to a conventional loan or sell it. If you have any questions at all about VA loans or any loans in general, all my contact information is below in the description. It's all over my profile. You can reach out anytime, 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.